Hey, welcome to another episode of the Not Scrum Dumb podcast. I'm your co-host, Andreanna Marshall, and that's my amazing co-host.
Grand Scrum Master Scott. Greetings, everyone.
Today, we're going to be talking about how to land a job as a Scrum Master. So, in a couple of previous videos, we've done a career segment where we've talked about how you can analyze a Scrum Master job description and also how you can rebuild your career after a layoff. As many of you know, looking at the job description, submitting your resume, that's going to help you land the interview. And the most important thing is the interview is going to actually land you the job. So today we're going to be talking about some methods for answering questions. And then also we'll be giving you some of Scott's recent experiences as he's been looking for a job, what type of questions they're asking, and then how you can answer them in the interview. So we'll give you a little bit of tips and then also some experience and some different ways that you can think through how to answer to land you the job. So a couple of things that we want to start with are a few frameworks that all seem a bit similar. So there's STAR, which is situation, task, action, result. STAR situation meaning start by describing the context within which you are working. This should be specific example from your past work experience. The task is going to be to explain the actual challenge or task that was hard. Action, describe the specific actions you took to address the task. Focus on what you did, how you did it, and any tools or techniques you employed. And then result. Conclude by sharing the outcome of your actions, highlight the results and what you learned from that experience. And I feel like as someone who's interviewed people, sometimes they forget the result part, which is the most important part. We're leading up to that point. We need the results because we want to know that you can get results. Some other methods are SOAR, situation, obstacle, action, and result. The obstacle part replaces the T part in the last one. Obstacle just specify any challenges or hurdles that you face. Then we have PAR, problem, action, result. Problem being explain the issue you encountered. And then we already talked about action and result. And then there's SAO, situation, action, outcome. Outcome's very similar to result. You're just sharing the challenges or improvements that resulted in your actions. And then there's CAR, context, action, result. Context here is just going to be describe the situation or problem that you're facing. And we already went over action and result. But I think the real meat of this is understanding how does this play out in the real world and what are some recent experiences and some questions? What's going on in the real world? Scott, what's been the most interesting question that you've gotten that maybe threw you off a little bit, but you also were able to answer it and give people some insight so when they're facing this challenge in an interview?
Oh, it's a very good point, Andreanna. Yes, as you well know, I've been interviewing a lot. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the landscape is different. They're not asking the basic questions of, hey, if your team is not getting it done, what you going to do to help them out? No, they're not asking those type questions anymore. But the most challenging question I got, Andriana and viewers, I still have it written on my piece of paper when I was actually in that interview. And it goes like this. Tell me about the most challenging situation that you had on a scrum team. How did you overcome it to get to the desired outcome? Now, at first glance, that sounds like an easy question, right? But let me add some Lowry seasoning salt on it. Because this recruiter, the time I had this interview was about 4:30 in the afternoon. I was the last interview for this guy that particular day. And he said this. He's like, look, I've been interviewing all day long. And please don't give me no cookie cutter answer. He said that. I was like, whoa. He's He said, I'm frustrated with interviewing Scrum Master today. And you are my last one. Please don't give me no cookie cutter answer. So, of course, I had to ask him to repeat the question again, but I'm not going to do that for you. So I asked him to repeat the question again because that just threw me off. It got me off my game, right? So I said, let me ask you this. Now I'm asking for clarification. I said, let me ask you this. When I give my answer, what is it are you looking for? I heard you say you're not looking for a cookie cutter approach in terms of getting the team done, backlog refinement, and things like that. He say, I want you to tell me a story where that I can clearly see your experience with a team. I want the Scrum Master to be able to help this team to go from wherever they are to the next level of agile maturity. I'm like, okay. Now, I've never told this in an interview before, but this is an actual experience. So I told him, I said, hey, I use the CAR method: context, action, result. So I had to give him context first. I said, I'm a new Scrum Master at this company. I'm 30 days into my assignment. And every day at Daily Scrum, when Jeffrey is a name that we have a character in our PSM2 class. Jeffrey is a name I'm going to call this person. This person is a developer. When Jeffrey gives his updates, he's fine. When Jeffrey talks to other men on the team, Jeffrey is fine. But we have some women on our team, and when the women speak, it's like Jeffrey has a problem with what they're saying and what they're doing. Jeffrey is very confrontational to the women on the team. Now, the first time that happened, interviewer, I called it out in real time in Daily Scrum, but that wasn't enough. I even went as far as to meet with Jeffrey one on one after the Daily Scrum. That wasn't enough. I went as far as to create a sprint retrospective topic around the value of courage. Hey, team, how can we become more courageous on the team? Do y'all have a problem being courageous with each other? Y'all have a problem talking back to people that if you don't agree with something, how do you even put that in our team working agreement? But that wasn't enough. Still at Daily Scrum every day that when we call her Sally, that when Sally speaks, at some point in time when Sally speaks, Jeffrey is going to interrupt her as she's giving her updates in terms of what she did for yesterday, what she's going to do for the next 24 hours. And I would call Jeffrey out. Still, Jeffrey did not change. So, Scott, what did you do? Very good question. The interview asked me, and I answered. He said, Scott, so what did you do? I said, well, I only had one thing left to do. I have tried everything with Jeffrey, as you can see. I have talked to Jeffrey one on one. I called Jeffrey out in real time so that we can create a psychologically safe environment because that is the result, that is the outcome that I'm trying to achieve. But we're not there yet. So I only had one thing left to do. I talked to Sally one on one. I say, Sally. Now, Sally's from another country. I know a little bit about Sally and her culture. I said, Sally, do you have a problem being courageous? She said, no. I said, well, the only way you're going to get Jeffrey the bully off your back in Daily Scrum is for you to elevate your voice. So, Scott, I can't do that because of her culture and her religion. I said, well, as you can see, I've tried everything. The only other thing I could do is to get HR involved. No, don't do that, Scott. I said, well, Sally, the next time you come to Daily Scrum, if he say something to you, please just elevate your voice. And I really believe that that will help you out. So I give it some thought. So the next day at Daily Scrum, Jeffrey give his updates, Sally give her updates, and Sally gets interrupted. Sally gets challenged by Jeffrey. But this time, Sally elevated her voice. Jeffrey, I'm tired of you talking to me like this. I was like, well, Jeffrey took a step back. And from that moment on, Jeffrey never said anything outside of the way to her, ever again. Now, watch this. Now, as a Scrum Master, after the Daily Scrum, Sally called me. She said, Scrum Master Scott, I'm so sorry for my behavior this morning. I said, all you did, Sally, was elevate your voice. So you didn't say anything bad. You just elevated your voice. You just put your foot down. She said, that felt so liberating, actually. I said, wow. I said, well, I think you will see a change in terms of how Jeffrey treats you from now on. And as the weeks went by, the days went by, she did see a change. And Jeffrey just had a newfound respect for her, all because she elevated her voice and just put her foot down. I told that story in the interview, and that story lasted about 15 minutes. I'm giving y'all the short clip note version. Of course, I'm thinking it through as I go through it. But I gave him that story, took about 15 minutes, and I asked, I said, hey, that was the result. So the context was we had a situation where our team was not psychologically safe. And I want to create an environment as we as Scrum Masters should be trying to create an environment that's psychologically safe for everybody. The action I took, as you can see, I took many actions. Yes, many. But what was the result? In the end, we did create an environment that was psychologically safe. And in an interview, ladies and gentlemen, they always looking for what you specifically do to help the team get to that point. I knew that. So let's think about for a moment from the interviewer standpoint. They looking to see if you got the skill set to do the job. They looking to see if you have the right personality and all of that. So I was trying to think of a story on the spot that I can convey that will help articulate all those things that they're looking at. And at the same time, tell a story that will showcase my experiences that I have done this before and I have the potential to do this again. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I
Say
think
what
that
it's
was a
like.
great story, and then I think the nice part, it was outside of the box, it wasn't a straight line Scrum guide answer, it's like, the product owner does this, but it was real world, how are you actually helping the team improve and collaborate and work together? So we got a great story, some understanding of 1, don't be afraid to ask the interviewer to repeat the question. 2, take time to think through your answer. 3, you don't have to rush through it. Obviously, this is a very condensed version, but take your time, provide as many details as you need. And then we also talked about the methods, the framework that you can use to answer these questions. One piece of advice that I would give is ask the recruiter, what's the desired way? Is it the STAR method? Is it CAR? They're actually going to tell you, and they should be helpful throughout the process of actually helping understand what they're looking for. All right. If you'd like to connect with us, feel free to reach out to us. Our LinkedIn's are below. You can also join one of our official scrum.org classes. You can also join our newsletter. We'll be sending exclusives to our subscribers. And if you watch to the end of this video, like it, subscribe. Most people that are watching are not subscribers. So come join the party. And if you made it to the end of this video, that means you have an attention span greater than a goldfish.
Be legendary, everyone, but certainly not Scrum Dumb.